Welcome to yet another episode of Pursue Podcast. With me, as always, Kim Mokron.
Good morning.
Good morning. Today we have Lotta Fennefoss as our guest, former D1 soccer player at Lipscomb University in Nashville, Tennessee, and at University of South Florida in Tampa. Now currently a professional soccer player for Stabæk and doing your master degree in pharmacy in Oslo. Welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you here.
Great to be here and have to get used to the English again.
Yeah.
You've forgotten all your English?
Nah, but I feel like I always get a much more of an accent when it's been a while since I've talked. All my friends in the States are always like, oh, I can hear your Norwegian again.
It's creeping up on you.
Yeah.
You're losing your American accent.
Definitely. So have to get into give me a couple of minutes and I'm back.
Yeah. We can do the talking and you just tune in then.
Perfect.
Perfect. Well, we started the process with you back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
You graduated in August 2017 and you went over in August 2013.
Yes.
So I had to dig back in our archives and look for, okay, what's the Lotta Fennefoss file to refresh my memory. Obviously, I've been working with your brother as well, so I know the Hitschke Fennefoss family quite well, and he's soon graduating too, which is good to see. But it started with you, and I remember you contacted us, and I think you had some friends that were also thinking about going to college or maybe had done that and you were interested in looking at it. But why did you make that decision to look at the US option?
So there were a couple of things. I think the first time I heard about it was when I was in the States on vacation with my family, and someone that we met, I don't even remember who, said that his daughter was going to go on an athletic scholarship to college. And I don't think I had heard that much about it at the beginning. And then my dad was like, wow, that would be a great idea. Like, that would be a huge opportunity for you to go to a great school in the States. And so we started to, like, look at it together. And then I think a girl on my team was talking about it, and she was in the process with you. But I didn't know her that well. I think she was, like, an older team or something. And then I reached out to her. And she told me that you were helping her to find a school over there. And then I contacted you, and I was like, it seems like a cool opportunity. Like, how would that come together? And then I also was thinking about it because I didn't know what to do after school, because you've been in high school forever and you're just like used to going to school, but then afterwards you don't know what you want to study.
Yeah,
like,
it's difficult to know at that age what you want to do.
Yeah, and you're like 16, 17, and I had no idea. I was thinking about maybe the military, maybe just work a year, because school, I had definitely no idea. And then I was like, I started reading about the States, and they were like, oh, when you take a program in the States, you also have a couple of, like general classes. So you don't, like in Norway, you have to decide on what you want to do
it's
right
3 years
away.
with your bachelor's,
Yes.
and it's like focused.
Yeah. And I was like, well, that would be a great opportunity. You have like the first 1 or 2 years where you have a couple of other classes and you can make up your mind. So I thought, and then a different country. I always love the States. It's like the big, like athletic world over there, and it's huge. So I was like, that would be a great opportunity to get away from Europe, see what's out there.
Yeah, and you did.
I did.
And you delivered at a high level. You were a good soccer player. You played for Lyn, which is a big club in Oslo, but you were also. I remember we started working, and we were aiming. You did well in high school, good grades. That's always a positive thing. The better you do with your classes here, the higher your grade point average, the more schools you can in theory get into. And if you combine that with, of course, the highest level of soccer, then you have the world of opportunity too. But you progressed a lot during our time working together.
Yes, it was very weird progression because I think I was a slow bloomer or a late bloomer. So when we started our process, I think I was playing for Lyn, and I was a decent player, and it was a really good team, but I wasn't like an outstanding player. And then after I think we had worked together a year or something, and we were already looking at schools and like talking to schools that were at my level. And then they started talking about me being on the national team or the U19 national team. And then after I think even we had signed with Lipscomb, then suddenly I was on the national team. So it was like, and when you're going over to the States, I mean, I had never been there, so I didn't know the level. And Americans are really good at, I wouldn't say bragging, but they're really good at telling other people how good they are. So you're not sure what level you're at or how much you can say, oh, I'm going to be the best player. And I feel like we're really humble in Norway too. So
it's certainly a mismatch there with the humble European or Scandinavian coming over to an American that will selling snow to Eskimos. They're good at getting the positives out about their program and the school, and of course it is a sales process too to recruit.
And definitely when you're 17 years old or 16 or 18, I mean, you're kind of humble and you don't want to oversell yourself. So you don't really have anything to measure with, like, directly. And then
I wish we could have a good college team coming over and playing against a good, say, a Norwegian team or a Swedish team or Danish or British team, whatever, just to kind of see, okay, this is, now you can see this is how the level compares. Because the way you compare now is you have to look at individual players, what they did, where they were at, and then where they end up and how they're doing in that team and at what level they are. And obviously it fluctuates too in college. It's, you can have a really good season or you can have a bad season. So that is really tricky to land on that exactly.
Yeah, so then after I had signed for Lipscomb, I got on the national team. And that's an easier parameter to compare with, because then you have an American national team, you've played some international games maybe, and you have something that you can use to put exactly, this is like the baseline like level I'm at. But yeah, so I even remember, I think I went over there to Lipscomb, and I think the first 2 days I was there, or a week or something, and then I went back home to play for the national team again.
And I remember that in the process, you'd been speaking with the coach, obviously he was overjoyed that you got called up to the national team after you'd signed the scholarship paper. He had a full ride invested in you. And I mean, we're talking NCAA Division 1. It's obviously, you shouldn't always measure the level of soccer on what division it is, but generally Division 1 is the highest in college soccer. But so it was still a Division 1 team, and it's in a nice place, Nashville, Tennessee. So on paper, this was obviously, maybe we felt that you could have maybe landed a even better soccer team at that time, but obviously you went through with it. But one important aspect was that, hey, I'm only going to come if you allow me back to play in the under-19s Euros.
Yeah.
Which, of course, that is a once-in-a-lifetime to do, and he accepted that.
Yeah, he did, and because that was the season begins pretty fast over there. So I think I had to miss maybe even the first game of the season, because I was gone for 3 weeks. So that was a really long time. And he was at that time he was a new coach, so they were trying to rebuild the program. So it was a really exciting time, and the school was it was beautifully situated right outside of Nashville. And
Nashville is like a music city. Tennessee, I feel like all of Tennessee is like a music state. You have Memphis, like Elvis, and you have Nashville is very... How was it to live in Nashville?
Well, I think Nashville is one of the prettiest areas I've been in the States. Like the city, it's actually like a European city where it has a city center, which is not that often that you see in the States. So that was one of my big wishes. I wanted to be close to a city, so that you're not in the middle of nowhere. That was one of my big things. And they had so much to do. So they had so many concerts. Taylor Swift lived there, and all these big country stars, which they loved and I'd never heard of. And they have a really good hockey team. So there was
the Preds. They won the Stanley Cup several times.
Yeah. So there was always a lot to do, and then like the countryside around is also really beautiful, and it's very southern though, so it was a culture shock at the beginning.
What do you mean by southern? Well, to the ones that haven't been to the States and maybe lived there, I lived in South Carolina for 4 years or more, so that is also deep in the South.
Yeah.
But what how is the South?
So I would say that the South is they're very polite and welcoming. So they will welcome you into their homes, and they barely met you. And I thought that was a really, really different situation from Norway, because in Norway people are kind of standoffish, and they're not as open to you as they would be to, like, they won't invite a random stranger into
that
their
is a
home.
bit like, what's happening here?
Yeah. And then, so I was immediately included into everything. They took me to everything, and their homes and their families, and it was amazing. And then a big part of Nashville is like the music, and then also religion. So they're pretty. I think in the South they have a lot of like community when it comes to church. So that
the Bible Belt, it's also referred to like the southern states.
Yeah.
And there's a church on every corner, which is obviously a little bit different than it is in other parts of the world, where it's maybe not so prominent. The faith, of course, there is faith, but not on every street corner.
Yes.
Like it is in the South.
Yeah. So there was a huge part of everyday life, and the school Lipscomb I went to is a Christian school. Like a lot of the university in the States are based on either they're Catholics,
Protestant or Baptist, or I mean, I didn't even know all the sorts of
they have so many
different
it's insane.
churches you can be kind of belong to there.
So Lipscomb was, I think, Church of Christ, and we had before practices or after games and before games, we used to pray together, which is very normal at schools also that don't have necessarily like a religious affiliation.
Because we used to do that, and I was at a public school in South Carolina. It was not affiliated with any church, because Lipscomb is a private school. They are a bit more free than to do whatever they want, or be affiliated with whoever they want. But we did the same.
Yeah.
And Truls, I don't know about you.
Not at all. Yeah,
okay, you were in
probably
Boston
from,
and New
probably
Hampshire.
from the least religious schools there have been. I remember though, second game in my college career, we met a team and they had a monk on the bench.
Oh.
And I was surprised.
Yeah.
Never seen that before. And then I
in his proper monk
yeah,
outfit.
in the, I don't know if you say costume, but he was a proper monk, and they prayed together, and it didn't work because we beat him. But I think that was my like sort of first, view of how religious some schools are in the U.S. And I remember that for me especially, I was happy that I belonged to a school that didn't follow religion that closely.
Yeah.
But you had to take a few classes that were... I had to take some religion classes, but I think you also had to do some certain amount of classes that were related to religion at the school.
I had to do Bible classes is what they called it. So you would have to take one class a semester, and then it was like you had sections of the Bible that you would discuss that semester, and then you would probably write a couple of papers about it, which was very new to me. But I mean, I love religion and discussing it, and I had so many discussions with people about religion there because my standpoint was so different from theirs.
Oh.
And a couple of them had been homeschooled or had kind of lived in this bubble, and they hadn't met someone from the outside. So it was really interesting. And then we had church credits as well. And we did a lot of, because I was on the soccer team, we did a lot of community work. So I didn't have to go to church that often. But usually it was one time a week we had like an assembly in the gym. And they had a couple of songs, and you would just sit and listen, and it wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah. Some guest speakers that they typically bring in.
And a lot of songs, that was like their big thing, like a cappella songs, because they weren't allowed to use instruments.
Okay, of course, Nashville.
Yeah.
You of course want to use get the music going there.
Yes.
Yeah. But Truls, you had two different experiences, because you studied 1 year in Boston, which is obviously a very big city, and then you transferred on to a school in New Hampshire, which is more rural.
Yeah.
How was that different for you when you moved schools?
I remember it was very different because my preference when I first talked to you guys was that I wanted to go close to a big city, and then I ended up in the middle of Boston, which is a city that I learned to love, and it's my favorite city in the U.S. now. I have a close heart to it though, but in Boston you have the chance to do whatever you want, whenever you want. So when I was done with school and practice, I could take a walk in the city. I could go to the movies. I could go to a concert. I could go out with friends. And you have huge parks. You have literally everything. And you're close to the ocean. If you want to go shopping, you can do that. In New Hampshire, you can't. So it's sort of, when we talk about the school community, you have a lot bigger school community in New Hampshire because it's an area where you don't have any big cities. It's an area where the town is sort of it thrives on the students because I think it's 7,000 or 8,000 students, and I think there's 2,000 or 3,000 that lives in Plymouth. So there's more students than there are people living in Plymouth.
Yeah. The town is there because of the school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the school community in New Hampshire is a lot better, and you are with friends and at their houses every single day. But in Boston, you could literally do anything you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So it's
check out the Boston Red Sox game if you
yeah.
wanted
So I
to.
went to Red Sox game, I went to Bruins games, I went to the Celtic games, I went to the Patriots games. In New Hampshire, you can't really do that. So that was sort of a big difference, but I loved it in New Hampshire as well because you get so close with your fellow teammates and the rest of the school. And I was close with the hockey guys, the soccer guys, the ski guys. In Boston, you don't get that because it's just a big city.
Definitely.
But you didn't complete your degree at Lipscomb. I remember you contacted me and said, "Hey, I think I'm interested to maybe see if there's a better soccer team out there because you were really doing well in school." And you ended up at University of South Florida in Tampa.
Yes.
Quite a big change. How was that process?
So when I first got there, I didn't think I was going to transfer because everyone took me so well in, and the coaches really took care of me as I was one. I think we were 4 foreigners, so they were really taking care of us 4 especially. But then I think I saw that I was doing really well at Lipscomb, but that maybe not all of my teammates were at the same level or wanted to achieve as much as I wanted to do when it came to soccer. So they used maybe their scholarship more as a way to pay for their degree, whereas I really wanted to be over there to get a degree but really play soccer.
Yeah, you had high ambitions with your sport.
Yes, definitely. And I think that was like the biggest mismatch I maybe saw. And because I was doing pretty well at Lipscomb, I was like, but we weren't winning that much, or we were winning, but we weren't going as far in for example, the national tournament, the NCAA tournament and stuff.
Because you were still in the rebuilding phase. I mean, the coach had just come in. I mean, Kevin had come in and he was building a new program, and that can take time.
Yeah, and we were breaking records. The whole first season I was there, and we were doing amazing. We had a winning record, and we were scoring so many goals, and we were really doing great. But I mean, he still had a couple of years to build a whole program and get where he wanted it to go. And then I started to think, well, I only have 4 years, and I don't want to wait and see how far we can come. Like, my time might be up by then. So then I contacted you. And we started discussing looking at other schools, and I think
we did obviously. There's a process to transferring, and you have to get like the paperwork in order before someone is allowed to do anything. So it's obviously can be a sore topic if you're a good player. I mean, no coach wants you to transfer.
Yeah.
But in the end, they can also understand that it's okay for you to look for new places, and students say transfer. That happens quite frequently. But obviously it's a process to it, and you have to do it the right way. But and it's also about the timing of transferring, because you ended up finishing 2 seasons at Lipscomb.
Yes.
Obviously you play in the fall, and you started in the fall, so you play. You did 1 school year, and then you played 1 more season in the fall, and then you transferred to South Florida for January.
Yeah, so it was obviously a really tough discussion with the coach, because I was doing really well there, and he was really building the program, so he didn't want to lose one of his really good players. And then we made the compromise that if I stayed for my sophomore year and played then I was allowed to look at other schools, and then he would wish me well, but he just needed that second year so he could attract other players and also not frighten off the players he already had.
Yeah.
So it was
I think that was a good way to do it. I mean, it was a bit like a give and take situation, and that's how life works, I think, too.
Yeah, and I mean, I really loved the people at the school, and the school was a really good school academically, so I knew there wasn't an issue to transfer when the time came. So no, it worked out well. It was tough because you don't want to leave your friends, so it was like a going back and forth decision the whole time. But when I got to USF, I was really happy I did it.
So you get to Tampa, Florida. Beautiful. How was that?
Amazing. So it was a vacation every day. A huge school, so big difference to Nashville. Then we had 50,000 students in Tampa, and in Nashville we had like 4,000 or 5,000. And then we lived right off campus with our own apartment, own bathroom, all new, with a pool right outside our door. And then the school was, I think, 3 minutes away with a bus. Like we had a school bus that would drive around the whole day and pick us up. And the campus was beautiful with palm trees and just you could walk around everywhere and had these huge buildings. So it was like something you would see in a movie. At least that's what I thought when I got there. Yeah.
I'm thinking back to my own recruiting process because I was recruited by University of South Florida myself. So I could have ended up in Tampa. Obviously it was between University of South Carolina upstate, which is kind of like Lipscomb, smaller school, 5,000 students.
Yeah.
Or I could come to Tampa and play for the soccer team. But back in the day, the websites and it's completely changed now. I couldn't really see the difference because there's obviously a big difference between a 50,000 student school, big Division 1 school versus a smaller, at that time a Division 2 school that I attended. But I had some friends that really enjoyed it in Spartanburg, so I ended up going there, and I really don't regret that because I had a great time, and I've done so many things since then because of that. But obviously, you can look at on paper, it was like, wow, I turned down a school like Tampa, University of South Florida. That was maybe crazy to some people.
Well, it's definitely you have to be more reliant on yourself because the school is so big. You do get help with all the stuff, but you don't I wouldn't say that you get the personal touch maybe that you did when you were at a school like Lipscomb, because there everyone would know you almost, and because they would be like, that's a soccer player from out of the country, and that would be
the professors really know that too.
Yeah, they would notice right away. Whereas in Tampa, you have to be more self-sufficient because it's a huge school. I mean, the coaches and the staff around the team, they would help you, but the professors wouldn't recognize that you were maybe on the sports team because they have their own program and they have a couple of hundred students every day. So you're not as much as a priority to them as maybe at a smaller school.
Yeah, because how many, you maybe had lectures of 200-300 people in Tampa.
Yeah.
But how was that in Lipscomb?
In Lipscomb, it was more of a high school style, I would say. So we had maybe like 20 to 30 students. And so it's much smaller classroom spaces. It was easier to get in contact with the professors because you knew there were a couple of buildings, so you could find them pretty easily. So that one, I think, was a really good transition from high school because in high school, you get everyone's teachers help immediately, and when you're at a university, it can be really big and confusing in a different language in a country you don't know. So I think that was really good. At Nashville, you had all help available all the time. You could ask your coaches to drop in and help you with anything, and they would. And in Tampa, I got really a lot of help too, but I didn't need it as much because I had already done the transition to Nashville. You learn a couple of things, and then at Tampa, I could kind of manage it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how was it to you have to obviously register for classes and set your schedule, and I imagine you do that before everybody else at in a big school like South Florida.
Yeah. So we had advisors for everything. So here again, if you needed help, you would get professional help. So I mean, we had a person that would help you with picking your classes. So we had early registry, which means that we could pick classes before any of the regular students because we were athletes. And then we would sit down and go through all the classes I would have to take in order to get my degree, and at what times they offered them that semester. And at a big school like Tampa, they had way more different options, of course, because there were so many teachers. And so they would help you register them for your classes, and then they would also help you get all your books, and they would tell you where you would have to be at certain times. And then also I actually got tutors because I had organic chemistry and English, and I thought chemistry in high school was already hard enough in Norwegian, so I got a tutor over there to help me because that was a really, really tough class.
Yeah. And tutoring means that you have someone, like one person, like helping you with the homeworks and the assignments, and kind of teaching you one-on-one.
Yes.
And that was part of the athletic program because you're a student athlete?
Yes, and I think most schools will help you with that if you have trouble in school, because they want you to succeed in school, because the better you do at your schoolwork, the better it also looks for your soccer program. So they're very focused, and if you are doing good in school, they want to help you keep up. So tutors were usually, in my case, I think older students that they had the class before and they did good enough in it, so they were allowed to tutor us. And that was a really good thing because, I mean, coming over, a lot of people in Norway can talk English pretty well, but if you're supposed to do organic chemistry in English, I mean, I didn't even know math in English because it was just different.
Yep.
So that really helped. I mean, I had so many miscommunications in the beginning, like in science class. In Nashville, I remember he was a really southern teacher, and I had missed the first 3 weeks. And then it was, I think, bio or chemistry or something, and he kept talking about Adam. And he was a really southern guy, and I was like, I don't know who this Adam is. Is he talking about Adam and Eve? But he knows that wasn't part of, like...
if they bring Adam and Eve into chemistry class, then
I was like, I'm confused, and I was like, who is this Adam? I have never heard of it. I mean, I've heard of all these other scientists, but Adam... And then I was about to raise my hand, and he wrote it on the board, and it was like an atom, like the molecule parts. And I was like, oh, and you felt so dumb all the time for the most basic things that you didn't understand. And like
that's with the southern accent.
Yeah.
It can be trickier with some of the words there.
Yes, and they were slurring their words together, so it was mumbling, and they keep.
I remember my first 2 weeks I lived with 2 guys from Trinidad.
Oh.
And I could not understand a word of what they were saying for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I was just nodding along, and when they laughed, I laughed.
No.
And it was just a bit of I thought I knew English fairly well, but then I came there, and with some of the Germans on the team was no problem.
Yeah.
And I had another teammate from Blackburn in England. I had no idea what he was saying. But the one from London, it was okay. You know, so it's a difference. But the soccer side of things, you went on to have a great junior year. So the third year, your first season at USF, that was a really good one.
I think that was the best season over there overall. Also because I transferred after Christmas, I had the whole spring to train with the team, and because it was a significant step up, so it had some adjustment to do to get in. The starting 11 was really hard. I remember most of this spring I wasn't in the starting 11. I mean, that was a transition just in my mind to be from always playing to maybe not playing that much. And then I used the whole spring, and they really found a good spot for me on the team, and I worked my way in. And then in the whole fall, I think we had an amazing team, and we should have gone even further. We went first round NCAA, and we lost to one of our rivals, FGCU.
Florida Gulf Coast.
Yes.
That must hurt.
Yes, and that was a team I used to play against with Lipscomb as well, and we used to lose because they were just a little bit better than us. And so that was heartbreaking, but that team was so good, and we almost won the conference tournament as well, so we had never been closer to anything. So it was a huge step for the program, and we traveled around the whole country, and when you're at that big school, a lot more people recognize who you're playing for and come talk to you. So it was just like a whole nother level of professionality. Like the whole support team around, and the fields that we played on, and the people that came out we played against. I mean, the teams in Florida are really good when it comes to women's soccer. It's like Florida and California are maybe the best. We played against University of Florida, Gators, and Florida State. I remember at those games, and they were just, I think, practice games as well. We had way over 1,000 people come and just watch, and the crowd was amazing, and we had this field with this huge jumbotron, and the students would, like, it was I think the closest thing I would ever come to playing as a professional.
Yeah.
And we had the staff around. We had a strength coach. We had I think three people that would just stand on the sideline and be like apprentices and watch for all the team activities going around us. And
physios and
all
team
of it.
doctor pretty much.
Yeah. And we had indoor facilities like strength, like the gym, and we had underwater treadmills. So if you did recovery, you can run on water. Like run in the water on treadmills, which I'd never even
in Nashville
seen.
they walk on water,
Yeah.
but you run in water on a treadmill in Tampa.
So it was insanely professional, and everything got washed and was ready, and we got food, and we got per diem, which is when you travel you get a little bit of money. And I felt like the guys that you see on TV every night, like the big stars. That's how I felt. And it was just insane, because I don't think even now, I mean, I have a professional contract in Norway, but the professionality over there and how everything is integrated to fit your life and get the best out of you the whole time was just insane. So I'm still like jealous that hasn't come home with me in Norway.
Yeah, touching on that, because you touched on the facility part and what you have around there now, but for other students that might think about going to college and playing soccer there, what would you say is the biggest difference playing soccer in Norway compared to playing soccer in the US?
So I think a lot of it was the physicality that when we got over to preseason, they work really, really hard. And you're on the line of feeling like maybe I can't do this. The Americans are really good at getting every last ounce out of you. So there was a lot of transition in just the fitness level to it, because they're so fit over there. And then I think the style of playing may also be different, because they have way more subs that they can get in the game. So the game is constantly high pace, and then if you get tired, they can switch you out and in again. So I think that you have to be really quick to adapt to the American way of playing, and you have to be expecting that it will be really physical. So maybe more, I think it's getting a little bit better, but maybe, or the coaches, it depends on the coaches, of course, but they focus a lot on the physical, and the technical sometimes can come a little bit behind, whereas in Europe, it's a lot of how you understand the play and that you're really technical. But I've seen, I think at USF, that they started focusing a lot more on that the players, their understanding of the game had to really develop, because you could see that the European players or players from other parts of the world were maybe a little bit soccer smarter than Americans players would be. Yep. So that is a huge advantage if you come from Europe, that you have a good soccer mind. And I think a lot of them have a lot to learn from us there, definitely.
Yep.
I think that coaches, and we speak to coaches a lot, about what they're looking for. They need to find the different ingredients to build a team.
Yeah.
because you couldn't have 11 Europeans and do great in college soccer. That's very rarely will be a success. You need the mix of different styles, and that's what I loved about, for instance, my team, that we had so many different nationalities playing, and you learn a lot from every single one of them. When I finally understood the guys from Trinidad, of course, on the field it was different, but they played a completely different style than I was used to. And my British teammates or my German teammates or my teammates from Peru, so it was, but it takes a little bit of time to blend all into one. But I think that when you have a good mix of everything, it could be really, really good.
Yeah. So the junior year we had players from Jamaica, from New Zealand, from Canada, from the States, I think we had one from England. So it was a really good mix from everyone. And then I think the core usually is American, and then there are a couple of foreigners, at least at the two schools I was at. And I think it was great because you learn so much from each other, not just the soccer part, but all the culture part as well. It just blends right in. So it was awesome. You met so many great people.
But you ended up getting the armband, team captain for the team.
I also got number 9, and I'm a defender. So
So
but
you were because you would expect some goals from you with the number 9.
Yes.
We were joking about that, I remember.
Yeah.
But you didn't score that many goals from your center-back position.
No, and surprisingly not. I didn't score any goals, no. But I don't think they have the same relationship to soccer numbers as we do. So as a center back, I mean, I in Norway would never get number 9, but they said that number is free. So good luck, you can have it. So I took it. I thought it would be fun. But I was also part of the captain's team. I think at Lipscomb, I wasn't part of it, but I was part of the group around it. And then at USF, I was part of the captain's team, and that was a huge honor because the team was really big. I think we had 30 players at one point. And as a junior coming in from a different school, I felt it was a big honor to have it, and a sign of that I was really part of the team. And if you felt really powerful when you were out there, and other sports teams from our school, like baseball and softball or football, would come and support us, and you had that band on, and it was Florida Sun going down, the sky was pink. I mean, it was a dream book scenario, but you learned a lot too, because they're really focused on leadership in the States, and that sports can give you so many leadership qualities. So we had a lot of seminars that we discussed how to become a better leader, especially as women in sports. How can we take a position there and then transfer it over to our work life after college? And our coach was really focused on that. And
because you had because it's a nice situation at USF. You have obviously Denise, which is the head coach, and you have Chris, the associate head coach.
Yes.
And they are husband and wife.
Yes.
And that is a interesting dynamic.
Yeah. So I was surprised as well that a married couple worked so closely together. But it was a very good mix because Denise was the head coach and oversaw the whole team, and then Chris, which was the defensive coach, I had the most contact with practices, and he was really great. He was very calm and just took a lot of time to get me into the team and what they wanted out of me, because we switched positions a little bit over the seasons, and so it was just interesting to also see the dynamic between them two, and how if one part wanted one thing, maybe the other one started arguing, but they never really did that because, I think they had been coaching 10 years at that point together. So, and they have just, I think they've gotten really better at it because they figured out what each one of them is good at, and they complement each other on that. So, but Chris was the one that I talked to the most on the field, and he was an amazing coach. He was really good.
Cool. And you got to travel, you mentioned it, around the country to play these other schools. What were your best memories with your college soccer in your last 2 years?
I have so many memories, so many big games, especially against big schools, I think were amazing because you could go to their college. Like, actually, I just saw Clemson.
Yeah,
We
it's
played
Clemson in the background.
Yeah. So, and these are the pictures that you see. I mean, we didn't play for that many people, obviously.
This is
but
like an 90,000 stadium
Yeah,
for the
but-
American football team.
but it
But the
was-
soccer team is right behind
Yeah,
here. And I've played there too.
And we played on a Sunday, and the football team had a game on the Saturday. So when we were walking to the practice field, we saw all the people tailgating. And so I was literally in that almost. So you're part of so many big memories and big schools that you see pictures of. And then it's just the important games that you remember, like when we played Cincinnati in the conference tournament final my junior year. And I think we played in Texas, if I'm not, I don't remember actually right now, but that game was also amazing because the first time we were in the final, it had been a long season, and we were so highly ranked in the NCAA, we wouldn't make it to the tournament anyway. And then just that feeling of going out and playing for something that felt like the World Cup for us was great. And then we traveled. I mean, I felt like I've been in so many states. I've seen so many things, and not just cities, because usually you would go there for the weekend, so you would travel around and see a couple of things in each city. In Philadelphia, we went to like one of the oldest prisons that was like a haunted house around Halloween. And so it was just amazing to like literally experience the real America in all the different parts of America. And then I was also lucky to go on a mission trip, my first spring break. And I went to El Salvador, which is a country you don't usually travel to because it's pretty dangerous. And we built a house there for families, and got to travel around with the local people and kids, teach kids. So you get a lot of experiences and see a lot of things that you as a tourist would never do. So you really get to be a part of like the American culture. So that was just amazing. And those games are, I mean, the biggest games I'll ever play. Yeah.
Awesome. And an adventure like this eventually has to stop, but it ended up with you getting your diploma.
Yes.
In biomedical sciences.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds complicated, and you're a very smart woman, Lotta. But how was it to finish and cap and gown and actually get that diploma?
I remember when I got it, I was kind of like stunned because the time went by so fast, the 4 years, you were just sitting there looking back at all the moments you had experienced, and you were like, this feels like it's been 10 years of moments like squished in together into 4 years. And I was really proud of my degree because it was a really hard degree. I thought I was struggling and using a lot of tutors to get through it. But when I got back here and I looked back at it, and everyone I talked to thinks it sounded amazing, and was really like impressed that people go to the States and do this. And it was just, even now when I go to interviews or talk to people about my school and my background, I always mention that I was in the States first. And also that I was playing soccer, because people get a huge amount of respect for it. Because not only did you go to a different country and learn a different language, but you went to school and you did sports as well. So it was like a package that really is enticing to people. So I would say it's always a big thing to mention it. And it was the degree. I mean, I really got to use it. I have a job now where I use it while I also study. And they're really highly respected if you get a degree from the States, I would say. I've always gotten positive feedback. So it's only been positives, and I would do it again in a heartbeat if I could.
I think we all would.
Yeah.
So your parents, they got you back home again.
Yes.
Back in the motherland. And how was it to be back after those 4 years, but they felt like 10?
I mean, it was a great 4 years, and after 4 years, I was ready to go home because all my other friends had graduated at the same time that I did. So I felt like this was the right time to go home. And but after college, because everything was so organized and set up for you, I didn't really know what I was going to do next. So I worked at a couple of different things for the first 6 months and was trying to figure out, should I go back to more school? If so, what kind of like studies would I do? Or should I start working right away? And if I should work, then with what? Because biomedical sciences is what they also call pre-med in the States. So a lot of people go on and do more school after that. And then I started working at this pharmaceutical company called AbbVie, which Stabæk actually helped me get. So soccer, again, helped me with work and school.
Because you were still playing at this point. I mean, you still are right now.
Yes.
And you played in the top division in Norway.
Yes.
So it's not like just playing a little bit on the side. This is proper, this is professional standard soccer.
Yeah. So I came right back home, and the first half year I played for Lyn, and in the second division. And then we won that division and got qualified to go to the highest division in Norway. But then I switched teams to Stabæk, which are also in the highest division. And then I played with them, and then they helped me get this. It was an internship at AbbVie. The company is called American, actually. And that I got that internship because, again, soccer helped me with the connections, and then my degree from the States helped me secure that job. And then I started working there, and I was able to use my degree and still combine it with playing soccer. And they told me, if you want to work here and this is something you like, you should study pharmacy. And then I started looking into that, and they have it at the university in Oslo. So I applied for the fall and got in. And then because I had the degree from the States, a lot of the classes, I got credits for them, which means that I didn't have to take them. So the first, I think, a year and a half of the pharmacy study here in Norway, I got most of the credits accepted. So I had maybe 1 or 2 days a week where I had a couple of hours of school, but the rest was, because of my pre-med, was already done. And now we're going into more pharmacy-based classes. So now I am full-time, but a lot of the stuff that I had from the States has helped me so much in the studies here, because first of all, a lot of it in Norway as well is in English, all the books that we have to read, and then just the basic understanding of the whole pharmacy world has helped me through the college and the job. So I was really good, and so I use my college degree every day. Yeah.
Cool.
And obviously, Truls, you use your degree every day. You know, business degree and your communication, marketing. It's fulfilling to, you've studied something and then you take that and you apply it. I mean, it's because not all people do that. Some might just get a degree and then they do something wildly different.
Yeah.
Many people in my family have done that, where they, you landed on a passion of yours, which is really rewarding, I feel.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes the opportunity presents itself, which is within your field, and then you can just take it. So with me, it was a little bit of luck that I got this internship with them because of the connections through soccer. But then my previous degree from the States and the work I did there led me to the path I'm on now, which I really love. Yeah. And and the whole combination of it is just great, because I see at my work now the way you use English every day, and a lot of the things I have to do are in English. And if you're not good in English, it's like a big setback. So just to have that natural English talk 4 years every day, even though it's American and it can be kind of hard in the beginning, it's really huge positive. Yeah.
You talk a lot about atoms. In your work.
Now I know what atoms are, so I'm good.
Good. But I think your journey is a very good example of how doors have opened for you. based on just taking a leap of faith and going to the US. And soccer has always been important, and it's just constantly been opening doors for you. Obviously, you can measure it in financially. You ended up with a full scholarship for 4 years, which obviously you didn't pay anything for schooling and living there, and that is one thing. But another thing is the experience and how you've grown as a person, which is and of course the network, because I imagine you speak with your friends from Nashville, from Lipscomb still, and of course Florida.
Yeah, they have. I have had a couple of friends that have visited me in Norway, and this summer I was supposed to go over, but because of COVID, no one can, or I didn't want to at least. And I mean, just you have a huge network over there. You still have friends, and you have all these experiences that you can take with you. And I know that. I mean, it's a tough job market out there, and it's a lot of different directions that you can choose from. And then having that college degree and that soccer background really sets you apart, because I've never had a negative feedback from, oh, you do sports still. I mean, you're 26 now and you still do it. It's always been positive, because everyone can really bring in the positive things that you get from soccer and from being in a different country and culture, and you can take that with you for everything. And then you have still, I mean, I have unique experiences that not many other people have. And I mean, I use that for all I can. I mean, every second I get, I can mention it in an interview or just with people anywhere at a job, or even in soccer. You just bring it up all the time. People are really impressed, or they want to talk about it and hear all your different stories. So it really is. It's only been a positive in my life so far.
And what's next in your journey? You need to finish your studies.
Yes.
Because you started those.
Yes.
And you're still playing for a very good team. So what's the plan moving forward?
Well, when I'm done, I'll be done with 9 years of college or university degrees. So that will be a lot. So hopefully I'll be really smart and get a really good job.
You sound very smart, Lotta. I'll give you that.
Thank
very
you.
Smart.
But so I'll be done. This is the start of my 3rd year. So next year I have kind of like clinicals, I would say, where I work half a year in a pharmacy. And so I guess the next 3 years I'll still have my degree to finish. And then I would really love to work in maybe a pharmaceutical company where you develop new things, or where you can focus on also the business side of it. So it's not just the pharmacy part of it. And then with soccer, I'm not sure, because, I mean, there is a lot of school now. And with the clinical, we'll see what we'll do. And hopefully next soccer season will also be normal, because the corona has been really hard mentally for a lot of the players, I think. So I'm not sure yet. I mean, I keep finding different ways and different routes all the time. And new opportunities come up, or I change my mind about something. But I'm not sure yet. We'll see, because it's been a crazy year, so I don't want to make any big plans. And
the last thing on what you learn in college, at least I did, is the time management and structure.
Yes.
And you play professional soccer, you go to school, and you have a job.
Yes.
And you even had time to come here.
Yes.
You juggle those different things very well.
Well, it takes a lot of practice, I think, and I think college definitely helped that. And it also helped the transition, because I feel like a lot of students that come from high school in Norway, where everything is planned for you, and then straight to university, where everything has to be managed by yourself, can be a huge step, even for people that are pretty organized. So in the States, I think that helped me a lot. That was like a hybrid version, where it wasn't as strict as high school, but they also had a lot more follow-up with you than they would here in Norway. And then that helped you to take more control of your own time after a while, and you could handle it yourself. But doing that much, and especially sports, you get really, really organized, because you just don't have time not to be. Like, I'm constantly running from school straight to practice, and then I usually work during the evenings, or I have more school because I have reports to finish or look over or something like that. And then you get work emails all the time, and you have that coming in between, and you also try to have an actual life and see friends, at least a couple of them when it's allowed. So it's just, I think the States helped with that, but also just sports in general forces you to be more organized. And I mean, everyone at work usually says, oh, you're so organized, how can you match all this into one day? And then I keep saying yes to new projects, and they're like, you're insane. But I mean, I get it done. And I think most athletes would also say that they do a lot, and they do it really well. They usually get really high praises from colleagues because they're so good at organizing their time and being efficient in what they do.
And being a team player.
Yes.
Yeah. We ask all our guests this, but why do you recommend other, young athletes today from Norway or Sweden, Denmark, international students? What would you recommend them when going to college, when going to the US?
What I would recommend them? Well, I think the important thing is that you actually dare to take the step forward, because I think the States can be intimidating because everything is big and it's different, it's far away from home. But just taking that step, I mean, even if it doesn't end up being your dream, you will take so much home with you that you can use in your life. And I don't think I've ever heard someone who'd said, I regret going over there, because if it is something that you genuinely don't like, you can always come back. So everyone that has been over there has either gotten a degree, has gotten friends for life, an experience in itself. You always get something good out of it. So if you're unsure, I would definitely go for the process, and then you can always come back home.
Great. Lotta, it's been really good to have you. Thank you for letting us be part of your story and hearing it.
You
it's
made
fun.
it happen.
Well, I was a little part of it. I think you made it happen here, fair to say. But thank you so much for coming by our studio.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks.